Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the West Bend Community Memorial Library Board for Tuesday, April 19th. A call to order. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to ask for an approval of the consent agenda. May I have a motion? Joseph?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, which is including the financial reports for March and the library expenditures from March of 2020. Any questions? If not, I'll ask for a motion. All in favor? 2022. I went back 2 years, pre-COVID.
Just keeping you honest.
Thank you. Who's going to do that? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Financial reports.
Yeah, so there were quite a few checks coming in. And then one check going out. There'll be a few more on the next for April. And then $1.85 in interest.
Okay. The traveling snake show. I saw the picture.
Yeah.
My goodness. Those kids must want to see snakes because that room was packed. How many did you have?
We're guessing 250 to 300 is what I think.
Yeah, somewhere in there. I mean, over 2 nights we had 2 different programs. One was pegged out at about 330 and the other one was maybe 200 and some. So total of over 500 over 2 nights.
Keeping those kids off the street. Good.
Snakes.
Those snakes, yeah. I do have some questions on the financial reports. And what I would like to, well, first of all, I had a task to find out why it went up in February. Well, the additional money that had gone up in February, which was like $90,000, that was for the money the city had put aside for the increases. And it was approved, so that was moved over. So we went from $755,000 up to $848,000. That's where that came from, the additional funds. Now, we had a true-up through the audit. And did you want to speak or say anything?
Sure. Well, there's some questions we have as far as the last year's audit and this year. One of the things, I made a mistake. Somewhere along the line we coded the sprinkler project to building maintenance, and that was supposed to come out of CIP and our carry forward funds, so that went applied to our budget. So that alone accounts for us being over budget about
And that was not caught in the finance department either. Yeah. So both areas had a mishap.
It was one of those bills at the end of the year during the holiday season that slipped through somehow. And since the audit's done and everything's closed out for last year, we are sitting with that one, and we're going to pay that bill out of our operating. So
the problem is, though, Brett, and this is for the city to be realized, and the council, because of the way it came out, the city did not match anything on the sprinkler system. We were charged the full $80,000 that came out of our operating budget. You said $78,000.
I have the total here, $83,909.
That came.
Which was a little bit more than we had anticipated because we had to replace the sprinkler heads. And when I was told we're going to quote the sprinkler project, we did the pipe replacement. Then they had to test the sprinkler heads, so that was a surprise $14,000 for us that we had to.
But there was no match from the city on that. And because of the coding error, it looks like we were over our expense budget by that total dollar amount. And none of the money was taken out of even our capital account. Okay? So I just want you to be aware of this. But we do have some other issues. First of all, if you look at the finance report, and I'm gonna ask you, Joseph, if you can meet with Carrie and get some detailed explanation. First of all, our operating expense for Fund 126, which is county money, money was taken out of that and put against this expense. So we dropped from 41,000. In addition, an additional 20,000 was taken out of the operating fund, which we never voted on to be moved, and that money was taken. Okay, so that's 60,000 from the Fund 126. We are sitting now with a negative balance of 47,000 in our Fund 121 because they took an additional monies out of that. We originally had 11,000. So they took the 11,000 and they billed us another 47,000. So we need to get an explanation on where all of this money came from, why it was taken out of accounts that we have control of without being approved. Okay?
Or even made aware.
Or being made aware, yeah. So I'm going to be looking for a really good explanation of all of this. And
when was that?
this happened in the last month.
In the last one?
And
Yeah.
where were the funds supposed to come out of for that?
Well, technically, they were supposed to come out of capital and
Yeah.
half of the city.
And then our capital.
Right.
Okay, so can that money then be put back into our funds?
Well, my question was, could we go back to last year and restate, you know, go back last year and correct what was on the books with the capital? We were told, not really.
No. But, and the money will be spent on the library one way or the other. But, we do have a roofing project coming up, and it's, we've talked about this, it's coming in at a much more than what we had anticipated, so we were, I think last time we talked about it, the city was borrowing, well, I know the city was borrowing 172,840. We were gonna match that. Which totals, what is that?
350.
350 something. The last quote we got, just to give us an update of what pricing is, was just to do the roof and shingles, flat roof and the shingles was $440,000. So that went up, yeah, quite a bit. So we would apply that capital to that, and because we're gonna need the money anyway.
So that 83,000 for the sprinkler, the city was supposed to pay for half that? Can they apply that towards the roof?
They can, yes.
I know that gets dicey, obviously.
It's gonna get dicey.
Yeah.
It's gonna get dicey. My concern, though, is that we need to really get a good handle on this from a financial standpoint, because looking at these reports now, it almost looks like we don't have control of our funds. And that's a concern. And again, we need to come up with specifics as to, this was 83,000, but, and I look at it and I can't equate, when I look at, if you take this month's finances compared to last month's finances, in our total accounts, we've dropped, now, and you gotta realize there's a month's salary and expenses, which would come out to maybe 100,000 plus. We dropped to almost 200,000 from the Fund 21, and we dropped a good 75,000 from the Fund 126. So that's 270,000. So I'm not sure what is going on. So we as a board now are gonna have to really start getting into some of this stuff pretty good, because I do want to know exactly, when we get the reports from the city, I want to know what is going into salaries, what is expense, so that we do have total control.
I'm sure they can break that down.
Okay, and on that happy note, does anyone else have any questions? I do want to thank Hetzel, is that the one on this one? Yeah. The two that have made their donations. I mean, we really have some wonderful people in this community. Hetzel has been a gem giving us,
The backside of the.
Is
this
it-
one,
oh, okay.
I have it, I think.
Nope.
Nope, that's
No.
not it.
I know.
Hetzel Law and Delta Defense.
Hetzel Law has given us, let's see how much we, I have it right here. Hetzel Law and Delta Defense, I would like to thank them significantly for being partners with the library. We really do need partners at this time, and I do appreciate that. Okay, any questions? If not, we will move on to the library director's report.
What more to say? We had a good training this morning with the police department. A lot of good questions were answered, asked. I think that's about all I really have to add to this report. And I guess I should thank the board members who are leaving us after this month for their service and their kind words. It's been really great working with you, and I didn't know what to say, so I still don't.
That's funny, that's good.
I think from the library director's reports and the staff reports, does anyone have any comments? I think your training went well.
Yeah. All the training went well. The PLA experience was a really good experience. Overall, got some good networking in. Just seeing that everyone deals with the same issues and fun times across the country with book challenges. So we don't have it yet. So
Right,
and then again, sometimes it's good to have a book challenge.
that is true. But we don't want too many of them.
Not too many, and got told we don't want it right now.
I'm trying to think, does anybody have any questions on the staff reports? I mean, I really think we're doing good with programs, and I think the staff is doing a heck of a good job.
They are doing good work.
Okay. Library Board President's Report. Well, I was actually going to say to both Joanne and Cindy, thank you for your service. We will miss both of you. I was going to ask you if either of you had anything you'd like to just say. Tell us what, Joanne, you've had 9 years plus.
Something like that, yeah.
Yes.
You should have given me a little warning. No, I don't have anything to say, I'm good.
Okay.
But I'm very happy to have been here as long as I have, and it's always been a good group to work with as it's evolved over time. So I've enjoyed it a lot, and I've gotten a lot out of it, so thank you all.
And if you ever want to come back, let us know.
I would do that, yes.
I got a blank application right here.
Right. Miss Cindy?
Nothing much to say other than thanks for having me. You guys have been great to work with, and I appreciate the learning that I've
Same
gained
thing for
from this.
you. We'll miss you, we'll miss both of you, you both can come back. What do you think was your biggest accomplishment?
Well, one of the things that I wanted to do when I started, even before I started, was to start a friends group. And I'm glad that there is one now. It's a little embarrassing that it took 9 years, but I'm really happy about that.
I am too. I remember when you started working on stuff
Happy
and looking
about
at
that.
foundations and calling Marquette University and going through the whole spiel. You
Yeah.
spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah, slow, steady progress.
But it worked.
Yeah, and I think it will be great for the library too, to have that group. And Steve was a big catalyst to get that going.
Good.
That
we're
and
doing-
luck, I think.
Then and
Luck, mostly
And people,
luck.
people.
People,
The right
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And we have a good group now that doesn't need much from me. They just keep going.
You know, I haven't been long enough. I haven't been here long enough to have an accomplishment, so just,
Well,
just
come
enjoy
back.
the ride.
Come back at a later date, we can always do
So
that.
I think the fact that the minutes are detailed and clear and all
Thank you.
that.
Yes.
And, that takes a lot of effort to, listen to us talk, and to decipher that and then put that on paper, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That would be.
Appreciate it.
That's true.
That's unsung hero stuff.
Yes.
Well, you
You
do
too.
the job.
Yeah, I don't do it ever again. I think you don't get to participate as much as you'd like.
No, because you're so
You're
focused
so
on
good
listening.
writing, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
if anyone hasn't said anything from the city, I'll just, as the city's representative, I'll thank you both for your service and, for everything that you've done. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Good. Okay, moving on to some lighter issues. Number 6A, emergency funds. I had asked to have this put on there, and my reason for asking is we are sitting with 250,000 that we consider emergency, 106, and yeah, 250, that we consider emergency funds. Technically, an emergency fund that a city has is out there because of the fact that they have debt obligations for the most part. And I think our city has like a 28% that they are around 28% of emergency fund to 33. We as a library, I don't think have debt that we per se have taken out. We do go through the city. So and we don't have to do anything on this today, but what I wanted the board to think about is if we would think of moving a portion of it, not everything, you still need a little rainy day fund, but a portion of that into possibly the strategic fund, because Steve is working with his staff on a strategic fund, and he is identifying a lot of new opportunities for the library, and some of that will cost the library money and things like that. So we won't, vote on it, but just think about it. It's one of those things. You may feel that we should have a larger emergency fund, but, 3 months' salary or something like that might be even a lot for this. Brett, what is your feeling on something like that?
Again, I think you stated correctly the fact that, we don't have the same kind of obligations. Yes, we have expense and things like that that can get pretty pricey, but I think the leadership has done a good job at pre-planning that kind of stuff and giving us the heads up so that we don't need to, react, that we can plan for it and have that accordingly. So I think that's usually what I would interpret an emergency fund to be, is for the things that happen on a spur of the moment or as a reaction kind of thing. With that being said, moving things into the strategic plan, we've talked about strategic planning and I guess looking to the future, what the needs are going to be and stuff like that. I think that would be appropriate to have those funds available for that kind of planning.
Okay. Any questions? Number B, general records schedule for Wisconsin public libraries.
Deb sent out the form for everybody. I can talk about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I should have asked. Or I should have waited till I was told to talk. But this is something that came out in 2017, and it's a good tool for us to know what we should keep, mainly, and for how long we should keep it, and then how we can dispose of things that we shouldn't keep. So rather than keeping records, and I was in the basement digging through boxes and boxes of records from the dawn of time, and finding like purchase orders from 1980 or whatever. We don't need that, so I did some purging. Hopefully I didn't get rid of anything that was paper clipped to it that was important, but the state, the Historical Society does want us to keep some records and for a long time. A lot of those records are the responsibility of the local municipality, so they keep those records, and there's records that are the responsibility of the library system. But by adopting this and saying, go ahead and sign that, Deb, we can say that we're following the rules and have the guidelines in place of we will retain the records that the Historical Society deems valuable, and get rid of all the other junk that we don't need.
And we don't have to come up with our own schedule. Just follow someone else's. So, any questions? I'm sure you all spent the whole weekend just looking over that wonderful document.
There were so many pages.
Yeah, that's why I said I wanted to get it out early. Yeah.
30 years.
Okay. I'll call for a motion to approve that we follow the recommendations of DPI, Wisconsin Public Libraries.
I'll make a motion.
Josh,
I'll
second? Josh. Any questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 6C, shade structure from Park Fund.
All right. This shade structure, we've talked about this at length, it's just one big umbrella kind of thing, with 15 by 15, or I think they gave us a quote for 12 by 12 as well. I think bigger is better in the case of shade in that spot. They assemble, install everything for that price that's been quoted. It's been an honor to do this, so unless you want some funky new age shade of some different design, I think this is a good way to go.
Did we have a dollar amount associated with that?
That's, I think the quote was sent out, and
No.
There was a quote sent.
there's, so 15
right
by
here,
15 is
shade, yeah.
8,600. 12 by 12 is 8,100 for $500.
Except I think
That's-
for the $500, it's worth,
A little
The
bit more
extra
shade.
space.
yeah.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll
This
see.
would be like those sales also they have over by, the big, by the art museum, like,
Yeah, it's actually more like at Regner Park where they have the,
Yeah.
like a big umbrella kind of thing.
oh, that, okay.
Yeah, and one post in the center, and then the shade comes off that. That's what that.
And does that have to be, does it stay up all winter?
We'll take the canopy off or whatever that is, just like they do at the Regner
Okay.
Park, and then put the canopy on this summer again. So
And then the
it's,
city, who's gonna be responsible for
haven't figured that one
that?
out.
Okay, I don't know, who's the city?
Steve's gonna be
maintenance?
out there.
They're looking for volunteers.
Yeah, no,
I don't know how much it goes into taking that off,
Okay.
or
Just-
so hopefully
I
I'll.
wasn't sure if you had to hire somebody to come in and take it out, no, okay.
If we do,
Okay.
I don't think it would cost that much to do that with our park cleanup at the end of the year, or our opening at the beginning of the year. So I'd ask Scott's to do it probably, because they're
There's
here.
not a lot of shade out there.
No, and if you want to play chess in the summer, it gets a little heated.
I can say that our streets department has been really good to work with for as long as I've been here, and I probably could talk to them into doing it for me too if I ask nicely. So, or somebody else in the city. We've got a lot of good people here.
The infamous question.
I have
Well-
a question. Is Parks happy with the ones at Regner?
This is a recommendation from
If they had
Mike.
to buy them again, would they buy them?
He told me to talk to Megan, and I said talk to Megan. So I think that he's happy with their work. So yeah, I think that was a glowing recommendation. And in fact, I asked him again afterwards, and he said, "No, just talk to Megan." And it was
Doesn't
it was
want
the
to
way
talk
go.
to you.
Maybe. It took us a year to get a quote from them, because we talked about it at one point and they were busy with other things, and I think this is the future of working with contractors, is it's gonna
Supply
take
chain.
a long time to get what you want, so
So is it gonna take another year to install it then, or?
I hope not. They're relatively local, so
Once you start putting money, actually physically wanting to pay a company, then.
if we have money that's on the
Yeah.
table,
It
they'll
says
they'll
6 to
come.
6 to 8 weeks.
Right.
Here, so.
Right.
And the quote's effective till June, so the sooner we get it ordered, 6 to 8 weeks, we have it.
Maybe for part of the summer.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And funding on that, there are park funds available, restricted accounts that pertain to patrons?
That was why we put it on here, because the patrons fund is sitting with like 33,000.
Yep.
Yeah, 33,500, so we would like to utilize that. That was money that was left over from the construction. So I'd like to ask for a motion to,
So about 25% of that will be covered by this.
no,
well, all of it.
all of it will
All
be
of it.
covered,
Because
No,
it's
no,
only-
but then our account will go
The
down
account.
by 25,
Correct.
yeah.
Sorry. I
That's
might have said
okay.
that backwards,
Oh,
but,
backwards.
right.
Yep.
And we've had this 33,000 sitting there since the park finished, so we
Yeah.
haven't been
We were
spending
doing
much.
some landscaping out of there when I first joined the board, but I think
That has
it's
changed.
been being paid by
Yeah.
other people, is my understanding. I'm not entirely sure.
Landscaping is something that we pay out of our budget now.
Okay.
For, Scott's comes in and does the trimming and that was coming out of a different fund before, I believe.
Yeah, it was being paid out of that account for
Okay.
a while, but.
Good to know, maybe we should pay it. use
Well,
that again.
it's something to think about, so.
Yeah. It'd be great to have somebody like Delta come back in and take care of it.
Yes.
So,
And I'm sure you're working on lots of those
I
things,
am
because you have been building up your relationship.
I am working on everybody in town to see if I can, what I can get, so.
Good, I know that, we know that, thank you. May I have a motion to approve utilizing $8,600 from the Patrons Park Reserve for a covering for the chest?
A motion?
So,
I'll second it.
we have a motion and second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I know the secret now. I stare at people, and then they will either do the motion or instead of just sitting there. Okay. Item number 6D, close Fund 126 and transfer the remaining funds to Fund 21.
I'm going to, I think I recommended this in something, or maybe I just put it on the agenda. But I think just to get our accounting right, we would get that cleared up first before we should move that money. I think that'd be the wise thing to
I
do.
was just gonna say, if there's a discrepancy right now, you might wanna.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we will table this.
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, table number D. We don't need a motion, Brett, to table something? No, thank you. All right, number 6E, story room updates. Are you gonna have us kids come in and tell us a story?
Well, BSI, who did this room, and we did ask for other people to work with us on the other room, and I didn't get a lot of reaction from vendors again, because there's, I know we did the sound project was BSI plus one other vendor, and they said they couldn't guarantee that they'd get it done, so we went with BSI. This is, part of that is the, dealing with the sound is something that we haven't gotten a quote yet for, but carpeting and window treatments will have some impact on sound. And then they're working on something which I was very happy to see that Carol, the designer working with me, was actually going to check with the person who did the sound study to see if her planned treatment for sound in there will provide good return on investment. So whether, she knows when our board meetings are, that's why we got this information today. If you don't want to take action on it right now, we can postpone, or otherwise we would be taking that from fund balance to do the 19,000.
Part of this goes back to when Steve was talking about the fact that the story room, the sound, there's a bounce back, and we were looking at different things on how to deal with this. In addition, if you, on the way out, if you stop in the story room, you said that the carpeting in there is,
It's in bad shape.
considering we didn't have that carpeting a long time. I mean, maybe 5 years or 6 years that we had it. But when you think of the number of children and the activities we do there, that really is getting a beating. And I don't think you can find anything out there that would live up to some of the activities for a long length of time.
It is solid color flooring, so when you have a solid color of anything, it's going to show any kind of dirt that you have in there. So it's
And you got the kids sitting on the floor and crawling around. I mean,
Yeah.
You,
Oh yeah, I was thinking about like other vinyl or laminate options that might.
Stainless steel.
Well, I think it's hard to get.
They would,
No, you
they
get
would
the-
hold up more, but they might not have the comfort of
Well, and
the
then
kids sitting on
even
it.
more sound issues in the room too.
Yeah.
I
Oh, sure.
twisted, when I was
Sorry.
reading this,
Carpet does provide some insulation.
includes supply install 6-inch vinyl coat base. What is that?
That's the base molding around the
Okay,
outside.
it's the 6
Yeah.
Do you
and
know how long they're expecting this floor to last?
I have no idea. But it is carpet tiles, so
Yeah.
you could, if something were to be spilled and not be able to be sucked out of the tile, we could replace those tiles. There'd be some backstock for that.
so the
Yeah.
total cost for this is 9,500?
That's just the floor.
That's the
just
floor.
the floor,
And then
okay.
there's the shades is the other
Oh,
one,
the
so-
shades, that's right.
Here's just the side plan.
The shades, though, you did tell me that one of the things they felt is that those shades might provide
Yeah.
additional sound buffering.
Yeah. One of the things, and from sound study, it's the bass sounds are the biggest problem. So anything that's hanging away from the wall or whatever will absorb a little bit better. So just having a fabric shade that's hanging is going to be better than our metal shades that are on our windows right now. They're gonna bounce the sound. The metal shade's gonna bounce the sound, fabric's gonna absorb some of that. So there should be some return right there. Whether it'll be a lot, I don't know. But whatever a shade can do.
So I don't have the second piece for some reason, so what is the total cost of that?
Are the shades that are in there now needing to be repaired, or is it just strictly an expense to try to absorb sound?
Well, the shades that we have in the building are 20 years old, and
Sure.
they're all coming to their end of life.
Sure.
Some of them we can't open anymore, so whatever we could salvage from that room, we would probably use in another place to replace something that no longer is operational.
Sure, so that's double.
Yeah, and then we'd have to we might look at shades in the rest of the library somewhere down the road, and run it into CIP probably.
Strategic planning.
Yeah, so our strategic plan, I didn't really want to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I think it's probably important. I think in our strategic plan, we got to look at all these things that we need to take care of, so that we can plan our funds that we have left over for whatever percentage that we can provide towards the CIP, because I know the city is expecting us to use some of our
Fund balances.
fund balances for capital improvements going forward, and it's to our advantage really that we can provide some incentive that we have some funds to do that.
Sure.
Now, I'd like to stretch it out for at least 10 years, maybe 20 years, but we'll see how that goes.
So I'm gonna just throw this out to the board. Well, before I do, Brad, you would know how often and frequently the story room is used. What would you say from a percentage of the library being open that room is used for programs and things?
Well, you figure that on average twice a week, it's used for story time, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Sometimes on Thursday nights, not always, so that's at least twice a week, say 40 to 50 weeks a year. So that's at least, 80 to 100 times.
Do we rent that out too once in a
And
while?
we do rent it out. So that's a variable, of course, but you're probably looking all told 100 plus in a year, at least. I mean,
100 plus days.
100 and plus, yeah, actual events, like I said, and the majority of that being the story times, of course.
Okay.
So, give or take.
Does the board have any questions or any recommendations? I mean, I could throw out a recommendation. I don't want to sound like I'm spending our money just to spend our money, but I do know children are one of the biggest draws for this library and stuff like that. So I guess I would recommend that we would look at taking this money out of one of our fund balances and utilizing that. But that's just me, and I'm gonna throw it out to the board, and I'll let the board decide.
I think it's a good idea too, because things are going up. The materials, just somebody
It's true.
working in manufacturing, it's a 24-hour. Everything is going up. And she's talking foam and plastics. I have a hard time, I had to wait 3 months to get something that was plastic.
Yeah.
So,
That and ability to get something
yes.
today
So
is a challenge.
it's a challenge, and the prices aren't held, and we have 30 days there, I mean, to sign this, what is this dated? 2/25, see. We should sign, shift was usually quotes good for 30 days
30
or
days,
less.
but-
So we should make a decision now instead of waiting another month.
This one here says
4:15.
415, this one says 315.
Okay, so I'm looking at the bottom, I'm sorry, at the bottom. But this one is a month old. This,
Yeah.
so this one just came out for the flooring. That's just my opinion, it's just to,
Brett?
She's staring at people.
I'm staring, I'm learning.
You just have to avoid her gaze.
I think as long as the funds are available, it's, I don't, I'd like to be conservative in our uses and that, because it's tax dollar, taxpayer money, but we feel the need, we see a need. And, if we want the product to attract people to our facility, people are gonna start, talking about the West Bend Library, is like, yeah, I wouldn't go there because
Well, and
they haven't
voting.
taken care of things,
people vote in that room, don't they?
They do vote in that room.
'Cause-
so.
Oh,
So they see it,
They
they
see
come
it.
in and they see what they're,
Yes.
paying for.
Um,
So,
and I want to just mention, and it's kind of a feel-good thing, because Terica says the sound's not that bad. When you got a bunch of people in that room, it's not that bad. But the sound is an important thing to consider, because the hearing needs of all ages that use that room, when they hear that kind of echo, when they have that extra sound, it can be very difficult for them in so many ways. So I think it's important that we address that for, not just for Terica's programs, but anybody else who uses that room.
Well, you'd open it up to people with certain disabilities that are more sensitive to that may
Yeah.
not be able to utilize some of those programs because it's too auditory for them, where now, if some of that issue was resolved, that might expand your,
The people who can come, yeah,
right.
and share in that experience.
I'd like to just add that, the fact that we're discussing all this, we're being responsible with it. We're just not, willy-nilly, oh, we got funds, let's spend them,
Right.
like you had said earlier. That we're responsible with it, we're looking for the most economic use out of getting the best product for what we're spending, the money that we're spending. So, that I think is the big thing that people are looking at, is that we're responsible.
and I've been in the room when there's been activities with lots of kids and lots of chatter, and it's just like, it bothers me, 'cause I can't.
It does become too much.
It becomes a little too much, so if you're a parent or you have a child who just does not deal well with loud situations, I think it'll help with that too.
Would you like a motion to approve this, Steve?
Sure.
I'll make the motion to approve
Should I
it.
come up with a total?
Utilizing strategic funds.
Yes.
Okay. And Steve's coming up with the total dollar.
There's 19,739.
Oh, thanks,
There you
Jess.
go. Okay.
Orange shades.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Nobody's looking at me now.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. The kids will thank us.
They will.
Like I said,
The parents will thank
the
us.
parents will thank you too. Our next regular meeting will be May 17th. Boy, it's May already. The task review is Joseph meeting with Carrie and coming up with an explanation of funding. And I think that's pretty much it, right?
I'd like to meet with Joseph beforehand and go through the information I
You,
have.
actually, the two of you, if you want, can go and meet with her, so you get
Yeah.
the same information, I don't care. I'm just gonna let you handle it, because you're the finance guy.
Sounds good.
Okay. If nothing else, again, thanks Cindy, thanks Joanne.
Absolutely.
Joanne has brought us some treats, so if anyone would
Yeah,
like some,
have
enjoy
no
them.
calories in there.
No calories?
Lots of
Perfect.
bad things, but no calories.
We are adjourned.
Okay.
Thanks.